Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's broadcast on Maconi Entertainment. My name is Joey Atterbury, and I am thrilled to be joined in the booth by Will Tiller and Eddie Smith working the controls as our producer tonight. As always, the camera angles being provided by the one and only Dougie Beard. Tonight's event is the second race of the Ignite Racing League's Hot Rod Setups Cup Series after last week's 250-mile race at Daytona, featuring the next-gen cars at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway for 100 laps tonight. Nashville is a legendary track with a long history and one of the most difficult to get around with how old, bumpy, and slick this really track surface is. Will, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this incredible venue?
Yeah, this is an incredible venue there, Joey, located in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, just a few minutes from Broadway, main hub of the city. As you mentioned, Joey, this track is very old, was established in 1904, capacity of 15,000 with 18 degrees of banking in the corners, has a very worn out surface, large dip in the track off of turn number 2, which can throw cars into the wall if drivers are not careful. Potential plans to repave the track and bring NASCAR back to the fairgrounds are in progress, but here tonight we're going to run those next gens here on one of the oldest surface these cars will see.
Yes, it is quite an old surface, and knowing this surface and this track, it's going to be an interesting combination out there, Will. These next-gen cars are super stiff with the chassis, and this is a really bumpy place, especially, there's a couple bumps coming up out of turn 4, as well as coming up out of turn 2 that can really upset the cars very easily out there. And I know that we've been watching them in practice, and quite a few cars have already ended up in the wall from those bumps.
Yeah, and I think here tonight, Joey, with only 100 laps in this race, it's going to be quite the shootout. I think once that green flag flies here tonight, you're going to start seeing those drivers really start to get pace, really start to try to make those moves as soon as possible, because you don't want to get caught up early in anything that happens here at a track like this. It's going to be very slick. The corners are going to be very hard and very bumpy as well. So I think it might rain down cautions here tonight, which could open the door for a very competitive finish here tonight.
Yeah, I think that could be the case here at the Nashville Fairgrounds. It could be yellow flag, but also we have a relatively small field out there, so we could see a longer green flag run if everyone plays nice, especially here at the beginning of the race. Working about 2.5 minutes left in qualifying for everyone. Let you all know what's happening. About half of the cars have taken a lap time right now, about 6 of the 12, and so we're just waiting for a few more to kind of finish up their 2 laps of qualifying, and we can definitely get a preview of what the starting grid is going to be looking like. But right now it's the number 47 of Kyle Edgar on provisional pole. Will, this is a pretty familiar name. He was on the podium 3rd place at that Daytona last week.
Yeah, it definitely was. Looking back at that race, geez, it was on November 17th with the Thanksgiving holiday in the middle of there. Kyle Egger came in 3rd in that race. Carson Nagy was 2nd in that number 93 machine. And Connor James won that race in that 4 machine, looking like Dale Earnhardt out there with that black and white paint scheme. But one thing that I take from that race, Joey, if you look back at those finishing results, the finish was very, very close. These drivers are racing open setup, so the drivers have free range to do whatever they want to these race cars, whether it's during the race, before the race, whatever they're comfortable with. So that's an indication that a lot of these drivers know how to tune their cars up perfectly, seeing as though that finish was so close last week at Daytona.
Yeah, and I know as we're waiting for all of these cars to go through, we're going to go ahead and take a look at tonight's race analysis out there. We've been mentioning we are here in the NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars, going to be doing 100 laps here at the Nashville Fairgrounds, which is 60 miles for everybody. Open setup, and for everybody out there, that means each of these drivers can tune the cars based on how they like the feel of them. If it's a little loose, well, guess what? They can tighten it up. If it's a little tight, you can loosen it up. It's up to your own destiny out there, kind of choose your own adventure, if you will. And then they are going to have probably a pit stop here in this race. It is 100 laps. We'll probably see a yellow flag. We'll probably see them come down and take tires, especially with how old and worn out this surface is. I know that those fresh Goodyears will definitely feel good underneath you.
Oh, definitely. And I'm curious to see what kind of speed that can add to some of these drivers as well here tonight. And Joey, we spoke about it off air before we came onto the broadcast here tonight. Looking at the 100 laps, at least one stop for fuel if it continues green. But at a track like this, with the service you just mentioned, the close net racing we're going to have here, I really think we're going to have a lot more than one caution as this race starts to tick down, which could really open the door for more pit strategies and more stops down the way.
Definitely, and it looks like qualifying has officially ended out there on the racetrack, and we will have our starting grid. It looks like the number 47, Kyle Edgar, is going to be your pole sitter tonight. Sitting alongside him in that number 4 car is going to be Connor James. Jack Dixon and Carson Nagy round out the second row, and Justin Knapp inside the top 5. Matthew Faineth there in 6th place. Colton Everingham, 7th. Mark Royce, 8th. Kevin Ayers, 9th. Brandon Scholler, 10th. Don York, 11th. And Stephen Knight will round out the 12-car field here. And everyone will kind of roll out and get the pace laps underway. But before the cars get out onto the racetrack, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors tonight. As always, Maconi Entertainment. If you're curious about getting any of your own stuff broadcasted here on the screen, go ahead and check out MaconiSetupShop.com. Click on that Maconi Entertainment tab and fill out that info, and Jeff will get back to you for any of that broadcast information. Also have Hot Rod Setup Shops here, the title sponsor of the Cup Series tonight. Reach out to Hot Rod Setups on Facebook or Discord. You see the logo there on your screen. Go ahead and search them there on social media. Find out more about Hot Rod Setup Shops. Also have JP Alfonso Studios, which is the title sponsor of our GT3 series that we also broadcast. They're a tattoo shop in Norcross, Georgia. You can find out more information at www.jpalfonsostudios.com. Also, Tam Livery is joining us as well for a sponsor, and always great to have so many partners on board spreading the word about this broadcast, and it feels good to be part of such a big event. And looks like the cars just now are going to be rolling off on the grid. And Will, talk to me. What are your final thoughts as we're about to get the green flag soon?
My final thoughts is I'm excited and anxious for this race to start. I know we have a lot of things we have to get out of the way. We have to talk a little bit. We have to talk about the starting grid, the qualifying times, what this track's going to be like. But Joey, if I'm being honest up here in the booth, I cannot wait for this action to start off here tonight. I know it's going to be a frantic race. I know it's going to be a crazy race from the drop of that green flag.
Will be a crazy race. Hopefully not too crazy, though, Will. We want to see some green flag racing, but Nashville Fairgrounds is notorious for bringing out early yellow flags, especially on restarts. But with all of these competitors on brand new tires and, just starting the race, they should have maximum grip. Hopefully don't see any wheel spinner accordion effects coming to the initial green flag. Got the weather up on screen here. A nice, cool 72-degree evening, 74 degrees on the track. Actually pretty cool and calm based in this iRacing world, and that should mean some very fast cars out there on the racetrack tonight. And pace cars leading them down the back straightaway right now. They're going to be getting the green flag from Barney the Flag Man. This is the number 47, Kyle Edgar, lined up on the bottom. I know that he's the 22 on your screen, but he's 47 on timing and scoring. Lined up with the number 4 car of Connor James on the outside. We've got a green flag on the racetrack. A little bit of a bump as both front line cars kind of struggle to get going. Clean for the front two, side by side between Carson Nagy and Jack Dixon as they exit turn 2. And now they're going to single file out to round out turn 3 and 4 for the first time.
Here comes Kyle Eggert to the line. He's going to lead the first lap around the fairgrounds here. Taking us down into corner number 1. Still Kyle Eggert and Connor James right there in the number 4 machine as we head down the backstretch with Kyle Eggert still as our race leader.
Pretty calm and collected for this entire field tonight, but the number 4 car, our second place runner, is starting to apply that pressure to Kyle Edgar out front. I've seen him get a little bit closer on each one of these exits, and look at this, really carrying the speed through the middle of the corner. I think that the leader might be in the way of Connor James right now, but he's just got to be patient. It's so early in the race. Lap 3 of 100. Pick and make your move, especially if you're confident right now.
Yeah, especially if you're confident. You want to try to get that race car out in that open air. You want to try to ride that momentum as we head down the backstretch right now. We're going to ride on board with that number 4 machine of Connor James down into 3 and 4 right now. And you see, Joey, he's right on that back bumper, getting comfortable, though. You don't see him getting too aggressive right now. You don't really see him bobbing and weaving for position as we come off of 2 down this backstretch once again. You see him just kind of solidifying himself right in that draft line as we dig down into 3.
Yeah, I'm seeing the number 4 here as we ride along board with them. Maybe tuck out a little bit wider on entry and try to maximize the exit, but Kyle Edgar does seem to have a good pace out front right now. Connor James was applying a little bit more pressure early on, maybe lap 2, lap 3, but now that we've settled in here, completing lap number 6, looks like Kyle Edgar is back in control and actually starting to pull out maybe a little bit of a gap. Something that we're going to see all night tonight is these cars bouncing around on the racetrack. When we're riding on board, and even here as we get the exterior shots of the cars, they're bouncing all over this Nashville Fairgrounds racetrack. We can just cause a havoc for the driver inside.
Yeah, especially with folks that are unfamiliar with iRacing, a lot of these drivers are, it doesn't matter the setup you have. Some of these drivers use force feedback. Now, what that enables is that you can actually feel the feedback of the racetrack, of the race car, through your iRacing steering wheel there. So a lot of these drivers here tonight are going to feel these bounces in their arms. You're going to feel that workout going along here on lap number 9. He's going to ride on board with Carson Nagy. And you see exactly what we're talking about there, folks. You see how he's just bounced along in the car. You also have to steer the car at the same time, Joey. So when you come off of this thing, you're almost actually hoping for a caution so you can sort of shake out your shoulders, shake out your hands for a little bit, then get back on it. But if this thing stays green for a long time, these drivers are going to be in for quite the endurance race here tonight.
Yeah, they will be. The bumps can wear you out. And if you guys are road racing fans at all, think of Sebring. Sebring is really bouncy. And taking a look at the 93, that's Carson Nagy, our third place runner. Another battle that we have on the racetrack is the 33 attacking the 80. 33 Kevin Ayers right here. This is the black and orange car on your screen, hunting down Justin Knapp in front of him. This is a battle for the top 5, and the 33 has really been trying to find a way around that 80 car in front of him, but the 80 is doing just such a good job running that middle line, kind of being frustrating out there because I think Kevin Ayers has a little bit more pace.
And you see Kevin right there to the inside on the corner. Ooh, that bump. Snatch that car from underneath him there. Joey's going to ride that line back into corner number 1 and 2 right now. Coming off the corner, you see him still trying to go to the inside. Just doesn't have the speed to get around. And now he's going to try to the outside here right now. Joey looks like he's found that speed on the outside.
Looks like he almost got to the quarter panel. Now he's going to give him a little bump into 1, maybe try to get him out of the groove. The 80 car says, no thanks. These next-gen cars are tanks out here. You're going to have to hit me harder than that to get me out of the way. But it certainly seems like Kevin Ayers trying that wider line. A later apex is going to maximize his speed down those straightaways, and I think it's only a matter of time until he finds a way around this number 80 car. And let's jump back up to the lead right now because the number 4 is going to take a look down the inside of our leader here. Almost 2 wide racing going into 1.
Yeah, as we head down the backstretch right now, you see Connor James in that 4 machine, right behind Kyle Edgar in that 47. Looks like he's rocking a Joey Logano 22 Pennzoil machine here tonight, but he's actually the number 47. You see Connor James now down at the corner number 1. He's still right on that inside, but watching that battle for 4th there, Joey, as we head down the backstretch, this track is very difficult to pass. You might seem like you have that line as we come around 3 and 4 right now, but that line, that window closes once you hit these stretches. But it looks like Connor, though, has that inside track to the inside, and then it closes once again. So to make passes here at Nashville, it's going to be very, very technical and difficult.
It is very difficult, as with a lot of short track racing. The funnels close pretty quickly on the corner exits, like you were mentioning, Will, so you really have to solidify yourself, usually in the beginning half of the corner, in order to get that track position that you want and deserve on the back half. And let everybody know that looks like Kevin Ayers did get around Justin Knapp, and he also dragged his teammate, the 279 of Stephen Knight, around him as well. So those two cars, the 33 and 279, are now running together on the racetrack, 5th and 6th. Unfortunately, that means Justin Knapp in the 80 machine down to 7th place currently. Still out front, that's Kyle Edgar leading the way over Connor James, less than a paper in between the bumpers of these cars down the straightaway, Will. And you were mentioning you're starting to get set up here on iRacing with the wheel and pedals, and what do you think it's going to be like when you get the pressure in the mirror like Connor James is doing right now?
Oh man, I can't wait. I've seen enough people race here on iRacing. I've seen enough people take practice laps on iRacing. I can't wait to feel all aspects of what takes place here week in and week out. I know a lot of these drivers might race in different series, whether it's here in the next gen cars, modifieds, trucks, ARCA. I mean, there's so many different aspects to iRacing, but to feel this pressure, feel somebody right behind you, it's going to be a whole different feeling. I'm going to be quite the newbie there out on the track, Joey. I'll probably be just spinning and sliding everywhere, but I can't wait to get started.
Well, let me tell you, Kyle Edgar is putting on a clinic of how to hit your marks right now, because Connor James is just hounding the back of our leader, but he's being quite respectful out there. Looks like the 4 is going to have a run coming up out of 2, but he says, "No, what? I'm going to think better of it. I'm going to continue to let the 22, really, I'm going to call it the 22 from now on because that's what's on the screen, lead the way out front."
Yeah, Kyle Edgar is going to take us around the corner right now. Still holding that line, holding Connor James away from him as we head down the back stretch. You see Connor's is going to go to the inside here on 3 and 4. Is he going to... Oh, watch out now. There was a lapped car that almost got into the mix there. It's going to kill that momentum off of the 4 as we head down to corner number 1.
Yeah, Kyle Edgar got very lucky. That was Justin Knapp doing nothing wrong out there. He was coming down pit road, trying to get out of the way of the racetrack, but here on the short tracks, there just isn't much room out there, and just happened to catch the number 4 when he was trying to make a pass on Kyle Edgar. But guess what, guys? We're only a quarter of the way into this race. There's still plenty of time for these two to battle it out on the racetrack, and the way this has gone so far, Will, I'm expecting this battle to keep going until the checkered flag.
This is going to be quite the battle we have on our hands now. Connor James has that inside track once again as we head down to corner number 1. Will he be able to maintain around the corner? Looks like he will. It's side by side. Hits a little bump there, kills a little bit of that momentum as he's going to go to the inside once again here on the entry of 3. Will he have it? Looks like coming off of 4. Side by side now down the front stretch down to 1.
Yeah, they still maintain side by side. Impressed with our leader, Kyle Edgar, managing to pin Connor James down on the bottom of the racetrack. And when he's able to do that, the second place car, now the bottom groove, can't use the exit, so he can't get the acceleration that he wants to up off of the corner. But this is about the 3rd lap now. These two leaders have run side by side without banging any fenders or anything. Quite impressive, but slowly and surely, the number 4 is gaining a little bit each lap. You see him run a little bit more wide, and 3 and 4 start to take up a little bit more of the racetrack, yet Kyle Edgar continues to lead each lap. He dives a little bit into 1 further, trying to pinch the 4 down, but the 4 continues that bottom groove, Will.
Yeah, as we come into corner number 3, one thing that I'm noticing though, Joey, the higher the racetrack Kyle Edgar is, the closer he is getting to that wall. And when he starts to get too close on that wall here, watch on the exit of 2, he's going to get very, very close to that wall there on the top side. And you see him just wiggle the car just a little bit right there. He gets very, very close. I've seen it now the past couple laps as we've run side by side. Once he gets very close to that wall, he either hits a bump or he's trying to just move that wheel just a little bit. And each time he does that, he is killing some speed here. Watch on the corner of 2 once again.
I think his strong suit is really turn 1 and turn 2, but something to note right now, we're coming up to some lap traffic. Our leaders are 2 by 2. Connor James on the bottom, Kyle Edgar on the top groove. They're going to have to figure their way around. They both get underneath the first lap car. That's Matthew Fanoof out there in the 17. The next up is 279, Stephen Knight. And wow, Will, I think I've lost track. What is this, lap 7, lap 8, side by side? Looks like the 4 is finally going to clear him.
Yeah, he's going to clear him once again here. A good clearing there. Good racing, though, Joey, as you mentioned. Side by side racing for about 7 or 8 laps there. No contact between the two of them. Very close, very respectful racing as now we're going to ride on board with our second place car of Kyle Edgar in the number 47. And now you're starting to see Connor James start to pull away in that 4. You see him there through the windshield. And now if Connor can start to put some lapped cars in between him and Kyle, that's going to make this race even more difficult.
I think that our second place runner is hoping that the lap cars maybe impede our leader a little bit, so that way hopefully Connor James doesn't scoot away. But take a look a little bit further back on the racetrack right here, looking at, I believe this is Carson Nagy and Jack Dixon. That's the 07. The white and black machine has caught the 93, and this is a battle for third place on the racetrack.
Yeah, battle for third right now. A podium that we're racing for. This is Carson Nagy in that 93. He finished second last week, so a great podium finish for that number 93. Trying to hold on to the podium right now, but quite a battle on his hands right there with Dixon pushing in that 07. And we saw a battle between the leaders just a few laps ago. We saw how tight that was, how long it took Connor James to clear. Now we're watching the same thing take place right now. This is for a podium finish here tonight.
You mentioned earlier that Kyle Edgar was having some problems coming up off of turn 2, and something that I'm noticing out of the 07, the white and black car here, is that each time he's trying to get on the throttle, he's really having to modulate it, which means that I think that the car is either too loose or he's run out of rear tire, so it's dancing around. It might help him turn in the front half of the corner, but he doesn't seem to get the exit that he really wants, and that's ultimately what sets up your pass.
And now, Joey, I was going to ask you before we started this race, on these corners here at the Fairgrounds, I know you mentioned it as a short track. Do you have to brake at all, or can you just let off all the way through the corner and then get back on and hit your marks?
Oh, yeah, no, they are definitely on the brakes out here, and it's that dance, so you're not only wearing out the front tires when you're on the brakes and turning the car, but you're also wearing out the rear tires when you roll onto the throttle and start to accelerate up. And it looks like the 07 is trying really hard right now to get by the 93 and almost made contact with the left rear of the 93 there that lap.
Yeah, and you see this is a little bit more of an aggressive battle than we saw for the lead just a few laps ago. But folks, we have now crossed that line here on lap 43 down to 1 and 2. This is a battle for third on the racetrack. We saw Connor James clear his way around Kyle Edgar to get that lead. He is now checked out of the Holiday Inn Express with that lead and cleared Kyle Edgar. And you see contact big time right there. You see if that brings out a caution, no caution, and that's lucky for the rest of the field as Jack Dixon's going to keep that car on the track and now going to solidify himself in the 4th position.
Yeah, we saw Jack Dixon get all up out of shape right there and then also take it really deep into turn 3 right now, just trying to get it all gathered up. But I think I saw the 48, which was a new player, enter the scene. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened here, Will. It looks like the number 48 car, Colton Everingham, joined for 4 laps, got in the way of that battle, and has now disconnected after 4 laps. So a little bit of a question mark to me on that one. But out front for everybody, Connor James leads the way over Kyle Edgar and Carson Nagy, your top 3. And looks like maybe the closest battle on the racetrack is hoping that Kyle Edgar starts to use a little bit of that lap traffic and reel back in our leader, Connor James.
Yeah, it looks like Connor James, you see him right through that windshield of Kyle Edgar in that 47. He's starting to use now these lap cars to his advantage, blocking a little bit. He's getting in front of them, using them as blockers. But Kyle Edgar has to keep his momentum going here. He has to keep his line, start hitting that inside lane as much as he can. Just keep riding around the track, and eventually he'll catch up to Connor James here on lap 49. But we're about to crest over the halfway mark here from the Fairgrounds.
You're right. We are just getting past or getting up to the halfway mark out here. Connor James really setting a pretty gosh dang good pace out front right now. Let's see what his last lap time is here. 19:52 compared to 19:67 out of our second place runner. Will, let's keep an eye on those lap times as this race starts to evolve tonight, because I think that's what's going to tell the story. And I don't think that these cup cars are going to have to come for fuel at all, but I'll be curious to see if anybody makes a green flag tire stop to see if maybe that'll make a rocket ship of a car and be able to leapfrog a little bit on some older tired cars.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see, Joey, now that you mentioned it, whether some of these drivers, you see the amount, the lead, and I see Kyle Eggers down pit road just as you mentioned it there, Joey. And I was just about to say, if any of these drivers want to head down early to get those freshies on these race cars and try to put some laps in, try to catch up to Connor before he heads down pit road himself.
I think this is a good strategy out of the 47. So you're pretty much splitting the race directly in half. You know exactly what your tire wear is going to be the rest of the race. And with a short track here, like the Nashville Fairgrounds, that's going to put Kyle Edgar a lap down. But we see the number 93 Carson Nagy now in pit road. That was our third place runner. He is also going to get 4 fresh tires on that automobile. And looks like, Will, we have more takers down pit road. It's about that time.
Yeah, dominoes are starting to fall here at the Nashville Fairgrounds here live on Maconi Entertainment. That's Jack Dixon. We just saw him battling for a podium right there with Carson Nagy in that number 93 machine. You see, he's just going to throw some tires on that race car, and there he goes off of pit road.
Yeah, looks like now we have our leader, the number 4 car, coming down pit road. He's just got to hit his marks, which he does cleanly. Important not to overshoot your pit stall out there, as you've worked so hard on the track to get all those positions. You don't want to throw them away just by overshooting your brake marker a little bit. Looks like he is also going to take all 4 tires and get back out on the racetrack. That should conclude, for the most part, all of the pit stops. But something to note, Will, I think that earlier stop out of the 22 on the screen has actually leapfrogged him around the 4, and great call by our producer Eddie Smith. Actually, oh no, the 93 is turned around on the front straightaway. Trouble for Carson Nagy, and we've got a yellow flag on the racetrack.
You have a yellow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a yellow at the fairground. It's not just somebody throwing a hot dog wrapper on the track. That was actually a caution, as the number 93 got turned around there for some reason there. As we take a look at this replay here live on Maconi Entertainment. And you see he's going to come off of the corner. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there off of 2. Going to ride that wiggle down to 3 and 4. Maybe not used to these new tires on this car.
Just watching him, big tank slapper up out of turn 4. There might have been the new tires, might have been just the bumps out there that the Nashville Fairgrounds has, but ultimately it looks like he kept it off of the wall for the most part. Don't see any damage. See, big loose moment. He locks it down, a little tap of the nose on the wall, but I don't think that's going to be enough to provide any damage on the front end of that car. He might have got away with this one. And speaking of, while we have this yellow flag out on the racetrack, we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back with more action. For all of you curious, that was JP Alfonso Studios. If you want to know more about that tattoo shop in Norcross, Georgia, if you're in the Georgia area, go look them up, www.jpalfonsostudios.com, for all their recent work and booking information. Also want to give a shout out to Hot Rod Setup Shops. They are the title sponsor here of this Cup Series tonight, and if you're interested about getting some setups or anything, reach out to Hot Rod Setup Shops on Facebook or Discord. Check them out on social media, and they can certainly get you squared away out there. Also, a big shout out to Tam Livery and Maconi Entertainment tonight. If you're interested in getting your own show broadcasted, go to MaconiSetupShop.com, click on that Maconi Entertainment tab, and fill out that information. Jeff will get to you. And you too can have your iRacing event here broadcasted live. Setting the stage for everyone watching, we are currently under the yellow flag conditions, but should be going back green here very shortly on this Nashville Fairgrounds racetrack. Lap 61 complete and in the books. Will, we've seen nothing but green flag racing. The pit stop, or the lights are out on the pace car, which means we're going to be going back green flag racing. 2x2, it's really been a story of these two out front, Kyle Edgar and Connor James.
It really has, but I feel like with this Yahtzee shuffle of a yellow flag we have now, the way that race was going was very fanned out, very split up. It's a very a drowsy race, to use an adjective. But now, these last about 39 laps or so to go in this race, it's going to be quite a shootout as we're going to ride up to this green flag.
Yeah, the 4 is on the outside. That's Connor James. Kyle Edgar in the 22 on the inside. Gets a great jump. Is already going to clear him going into turn 1. Easy restart here by Kyle Edgar out front. Takes a commanding lead. A little bit further back, a little bit of too wide racing for third place between the 33 Kevin Ayers and Steven Knight on the bottom side, and Carson Nagy in that 93, currently a lap down, trying to charge his way back up through the field and get that lap back, Will.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of work to do to get that lap back here. Not only is he going to have to get on the top of the grid, get it around Kyle Edgar in that 47, and then race all the way around back to the track and work his way back up the grid to have a shot at another podium here in the Hot Rod Setup Shop Cup Series. And you see that wiggle again off of 2. I think something went terribly wrong when he went down pit road, because that thing is slipping and sliding from underneath him.
It is slipping and sliding, and he's just got to hope for another yellow out there on the racetrack. Maybe get a wave around or be in that position where these lead cars pit, and he can go ahead and get that lap back. But looking at the 22 on screen, that's Kyle Edgar leading the way from Connor James, really taking a high line up there in turns 3 and 4. Haven't seen that out here too much tonight, but one thing to note, Will, the sun has officially set here in Nashville, the virtual Nashville. That means the tires are going to be feeling good out there in this cold air. And something to note, it looks like Connor James certainly has something after this pit stop. The short run speed has come alive in this number 4 car.
And you see now Kyle Edgar is adjusting that line as he comes off of 2 down the backstretch. There goes Connor James. Gives him a little shove down into corner number 3. Coming around the apex of 3 and 4 right now. Connor James is right on that back bumper. He's going to use that momentum to ride into corner number 1. See if he has this momentum. They touch just a little bit as now we're going down the backstretch.
Just a little rub between our 2 lead cars out there. Connor James trying everything he can to get by Kyle Edgar right now. More contact up on the 4. That's going to send our leader up into the wall. That's Kyle Edgar turned around, and we've got a yellow rightfully on the racetrack. A little bit of an accordion effect. We saw the number 4 really start to have this short run speed. Had the run coming up out of 4, got into the back of Kyle Edgar, gave him not 1 but 2 taps, and I think on the second tap, ultimately upset the car enough to turn him around.
If I learned anything from watching Zombieland, it was always that you have to double tap your opponents, and he was double tapping for sure there. You saw him trying to get Kyle Edgar out of his way, and you see it right there. Tap, 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 right into the wall. And unfortunately, it's going to put some damage on the front end of Kyle Edgar. But what a battle, though, for the lead. I know Kyle Edgar doesn't feel that way as he just got put into the wall. But these two have been battling it out since the drop of the green flag.
You know, I know that Kyle Edgar does not feel that way, but guess what? It is a yellow flag. He's coming down pit road right now, which means he's going to take 4 fresh tires. He's probably going to get that damage fixed, and he actually might be in a decent position still because he did not lose a lap in that wreck. That was the most crucial part. He didn't lose a lap. Looks like he's going to go up on the right side. I assume he's going to take all 4. And something else to note, Will. The number 4 car, Connor James, those were our 2 battle for the lead, right? He has been given an end-of-line penalty for that contact with Kyle Edgar out there.
Oof. That is not good for Connor James in that four. By a mile, he was, I would say, Joey, we're on lap 71 here. Probably the fastest car on the track. You saw when he got around Kyle Edgar the first time, he really checked out there. Again, there with that run, he was trying to use that speed to get around Kyle once again, but unfortunately, you can't double tap another driver into the wall like that. So it's going to be quite the penalty for Connor James, but I feel like still looking at around a little under 30 laps to go, he might still have some time to overcome.
He definitely will still have some time to overcome here. And yeah, only about 3/4 of the way through this race, but something else to know. Maybe a little bit of talking out there on the racetrack as we see the 22 and 4 kind of go side by side under yellow flag there. I wonder if they're still got some mixed emotions about how they feel about that incident that happened not too long ago. But we'll keep track of them because if I notice there, Kyle Edgar is going to start on the second row. Looks like Carson Nagy is also going to be back on the lead lap. But we have a new leader out front, the 33 of Kevin Ayers with his teammate, the 279 of Stephen Knight, lined up on the outside here, sharing the front row. Pace car is going to be diving off down into pit lane, which means Barney, the flagman, has control of the field right now. 33's got that inside line, waiting for his teammate to creep up, but the inside line gets a huge jump on this restart. 33, Kevin Ayers going to lead the way, but the 07 of Jack Dixon takes it too wide on the 279 behind, but look out for Kyle Edgar, now taking it too wide through turns 3 and 4, around the high side of the 07. Remember, the 22 has those fresh tires, but here comes Connor James. We're going to go 3 wide here in Nashville down into turn 1. They get it all sorted out, but it is the 22 and 4. They found themselves with magnets in their bumpers, and they are together locked again. But guess what? It's still the 33 Kevin Ayers out front. Stephen Knight, his teammate, a blocker, if you will. 3/4 of the race officially done here. 24 laps remain.
Yeah, 24 laps remain. As we head down this backstretch, we see this battle. We're going to see fireworks here in a minute. It's not because it's the end of the race, but it's because Connor James is out to the inside of Kyle Edgar right now as they go around the 279. They're going to make quick work of Knight right there in that 279. Now they have their sights set on the 33 of Ayers. Both these guys have been racing for the lead all night long. As we dig down into corner number 3, it is now Ayers number 1 in that 33, Kyle Edgar in the 47, and number 2, and you see Connor James right there in the 4th position, or number 4 car in the 3rd position. Now 1, 2, 3 on the racetrack as now we come down the backstretch once again. This race is heating up here at the Fairgrounds.
Kevin Ayers is doing a great job out front, but I think these two cars are a little bit faster behind. And yes, Kyle Edgar will get underneath the 33 this time. Coming up out of 4, he's going to clear him going into 1. That's going to open the door for the number 4 to also scoot around. The number 33 lifts off the gas, says, you know what, you two go ahead, battle it out for the win. I might just pick up the pieces and have a checkered flag at the end of this based off of what we've seen earlier happen in this race. And I want to give a shout out. This number 4 car has some great speed still. Will, he's got 25.
Watch out!
Oh no!
Oh man!
We've got action on the racetrack.
The leaders are wrecking on the entry of 3 and 4. Right now, there's calamity on the racetrack. Kyle Edgar is still racing along, and the caution flag is out. But Carson Nagy in that number 93 machine, a lap down just a little while ago, is now our race leader here at the Fairgrounds.
Yeah, calamity out of turn 2. I had to back it up to see what happened, and Kyle Edgar gets wicked loose coming out of turn 2. He gets corrected, and ultimately the number 4 here has a run on the outside, but look at how wiggle this car is, and just boom, into the wall, and here comes the 93 up through turn 3. Also, Kyle Edgar gets into the 4, into turn 3. Everybody gets checked up, and I want to ask our producer, Eddie Smith here, let's go right on board Carson Nagy, the 93 that lap here, because he's got nothing. He's just hanging out back there kind of in 4th place, right? And then all of a sudden, he approaches turn 3 here, Will, and he's got a battle for the lead.
Yeah, he's got a battle for the lead indeed, and for somebody that was just a lap down not too long ago, is now the number 9. Woof, man, how close was that to the inside of the 4? Quick work to get around the 47 before that yellow light started flashing, and once he did, that yellow light flash, and he was all of a sudden the leader here at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, and I know that race control is sorting out all of the positions out there on the racetrack. I think we also had a few takers down pit road. Only 2 cars look like they stayed out on the racetrack right there, but amazing driving, I'm going to call it, from the number 93 Carson Nagy. Heck of a move to find himself where he is right now, and looks like we're going to have 1 more, maybe 2 more laps here on the pace car. Something to note, Will, Kyle Edgar, Justin Knapp, our cars in the top 2 right now, did not pit. Carson Nagy, Jack Dixon, Kevin Ayers, Connor James, Stephen Knight, Matthew Fanoff, a.k.a. the rest of the field have.
That's a good one there, Joey. We'll see if this strategy pays off for Kyle Edgar here in that 47. He's trying to best his finish at Daytona about 2 weeks ago there, it's around November 17th there, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Came home third at the oval that is Daytona, and for a track like that, I think everybody, if you don't win that race, you come out of that race a little disappointed. Just because everybody's very, very familiar with Daytona. They know how to race that race. They know their strategies. They know everything. But here tonight at the Nashville Fairgrounds, it's a whole different situation. It's very bumpy, very old. The tires get a lot more wear on them as well. So to be able to come home with a victory here tonight will feel even better than winning at Daytona.
I think that no matter the victory, Will, it always feels good to burn it down on the front straight and set the stage right now. That's Kyle Edgar on the bottom, Justin Knapp up top. Check out that the black and red car. Carson Nagy, the 93. That's who I've got my eye on. Connor James takes it 2 wide into 1, but ultimately it's Kyle Edgar right now, our leader, leading over Carson Nagy. Got 14 laps remain here at the Nashville Fairgrounds as these cup cars are battling it out over 100 laps tonight. Kyle Edgar really been one of the dominant cars, but I've got my eye on that red and black 93. He's got fresh tires, and something else, that black number 4 also has fresh tires, Will.
Yeah, Connor James there in the 4 machine does have a set of freshies on there. The one thing I've noticed though, Joey, is when we saw him get the lead there earlier in this race, he checked out. The car was a lot more tighter. I don't know if maybe the pit crew may have adjusted this car just a little bit. It looks a little bit more loose to me. It looks like that back end sliding just a little bit around these corners instead of earlier when this car was sticking around this track. You see it right there on the exit of 4. That tail just wiggles just a little bit. Not much to really kill any speed, but you're not seeing that speed that you saw here earlier in this race.
No, not quite yet. I've got my eye on the lap times here. Last lap, both 18.4s out of our top 2. We'll see as they cross the stripe here again. And once again, 18.4s out of both, and they're pretty identical. Only a couple hundredths, maybe even a few thousandths of a second difference between the lap times between Kyle Edgar and Connor James right now. And looks like we got another yellow flag on the racetrack. I think that's Jack Dixon turned around in turn number 3, although that's very early in turn 3. That's probably something that happened down the back straight. I'm sure we're going to get a take a look at this on the replay, and it looks like I think he's just by himself out there, gets loose up out of 2, and actually the 33, Kevin Ayers, gets up into the back of the 07. Once the 07 has already been spun around, Will, I'm really unfortunate for the 33 as we're about to see.
Yeah, very unfortunate indeed, as we just saw him battling it out for the lead not too long ago. Not much contact there. Looks like Jack's going to get the worst of it there in that 007 machine. The 07 machine, I like to call him 007 on the track there. He's going to get the worst of this contact now. We've had about 3 cautions, Joey, to close out this race. But when we get re-racked and that green flag flies, we're going to have less than about 4 or 5 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. This is the 07 right now, getting all that damage fixed. Gotta love when the car just bounces back like that. And coming from the world of real racing, I wish that when the damage happened, that it just kind of bounces back and everything's back to normal. That would definitely be really nice out there. And Looks like the safety car is still out there. These competitors are getting very antsy in their pantsy, if you will. And it looks like we are going to rack them up here this time. Kyle Edgar going to be leading the field. But look at this, Will. He's got his friendly old competitor, the number 4, joining him on the outside this time. Are we going to see fireworks, you think?
Oh, I think we're going to see fireworks not only on the track, but off the track as well when this thing completes here on Maconi Entertainment. This is week number 2, I do believe, here in the Hot Rod Setup Shops Cup Series. Is now Kyle Edgar is going to take us around quarter number 4 to the drop of the green flag, and here we go. We're racing once again.
A crazy early jump from Kyle Edgar. Haven't seen somebody go green that early in a long time. And the number 4 is going to wreck coming out of turn 2. He gets loose all on his own, and he wrecks it there out of turn 2, and he's already hit the F4 disconnect out of the server. He is gone. Connor James has exited Nashville.
Oh my goodness there. Connor James in that 4. We're going to check out a replay here on Maconi Entertainment. You see him on the top side. Kyle Edgar's going to squeeze him just a little bit here on this restart. You see Kyle Edgar with that huge restart coming on the inside. I'm just curious to see what may have happened to Connor James in that 4. We're going to ride on board with him here. Here coming into 1 and 2. On the exit of 2, oh, I see it right there, Joey. He hits a little bump, tries to overcorrect that race car, and there's no correcting these next gens.
No, yeah, the bump plus tire wear or cold tires, it can be a deadly combination as we've seen a few times tonight, but working only a few laps left here. I'm hoping that maybe Carson Nagy in this 93 has something for our leader. I'm looking at the lap times as we're going to get 3 laps to go right now. Carson Nagy 18.5, our leader 18.6. He's taken a couple tenths out each lap, but I don't know if he's going to have the time in order to run down Kyle Edgar out front.
Yeah, I don't know either here. As we're going to re-rack it. Basically, essentially, a green-white checkered here when we go back racing here from the Fairgrounds. But hats off to Kyle Edgar there in that 47 machine. We've seen that battle between him and Connor James all night long here. We've seen the contact. We've seen them spin out, both of them. You've seen Kyle Edgar had to work his way back up, dropping down to about the 4th or 5th position. Now back up into the lead. So we've seen this all night. Now let's see if Carson Nagy has anything for him there in that number 93.
Yeah, final lap out here. Kyle Edgar right now rounding turn 3, coming out of turn 4. The 93 in his mirror. Looks like Kyle Edgar will take home the win tonight here in the Next Gen Cars at the Nashville Fairgrounds. What a race out of that number 47 or number 22, whatever you want to call it out there. Was really involved in battles all night long with that number 4 car. Had to work his way up. He wasn't in the lead all race, and looks like we are going to get some burnouts. Well, maybe at least an attempted burnout out of Kyle Edgar out here on the front straight, Will.
Yeah, he's going to try to burn it down here at the Fairgrounds. I don't know if he has any tires left for a good burnout here, but what a job from Kyle Edgar there in the number 47 machine to get the win here from the Fairgrounds. Had to battle his way into victory lane with the battles with the 4, worked his way up through the field, survived the lap traffic, survived the rough surface here at one of the oldest tracks these next gens are going to see. But congratulations for Kyle Edgar, besting his finish from last week from 3rd, now into 1st. So really solidifying himself as one of the top drivers here in this series.
Yeah, Kyle Edgar taking home the win tonight. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with the finishing results of tonight's race. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment. You just witnessed a great race of these NASCAR Next Gen cars here at Nashville. Taking a look on screen at the finishing results, that was Kyle Edgar with the win tonight. Carson Nagy, impressive run in that number 93. He had a chutes and ladders day, is what I like to call it. Lots of up and down, but ultimately comes home second. Jack Dixon in that 07. Also a great finish out of Jack there. Fourth place, Kevin Ayers, Justin Knapp rounding out the top five. Stephen Knight there in sixth place. Connor James, unfortunately, with that incident in the disconnect late in the race. Matthew Fanoff out there. We saw him in the 17. Colton Everingham joined us a little bit. And then Don York, as always, helping out with the race control out there and making sure everybody stays in line on the racetrack. And a few others that had joined the session but didn't take the green flag out there, Mark Royce and Brandon Scholler. And as we are wrapping everything up, I think it looks like we do have a few interviews, few guys ready to get interviewed out here. We're going to go ahead and start with our race winner. This is going to be Kyle Edgar joining us here in the booth tonight. Kyle, pretty intense win out there, but it wasn't by the book, if you call it. You had quite your battles with the number 4 car throughout the night.
Yeah, for sure. Got to the lead right away, and man, I played the strategy perfect, and then we got a yellow, so that racked us back up. But no, when he got out front there, I was just riding, saving tires, and I knew once I hit lap 50, it's time to get some fuel, because we weren't going to make it the whole way on fuel. And took tires and fuel and came out the lead, and yeah, we got the yellow, and then just tried to survive from there.
Well, talk me through. We saw that Connor James got an end-of-line penalty for getting into you there on the front straightaway. And then talk me through that incident a little bit later in the race where it looked like you got loose up out of 2 and there was more contact involved on the back straight. And then ultimately you guys went down into 3 and there was more contact. What was happening there?
Yeah, I got loose off of 2, and it's so hard to save these things, but yeah, we might have overcorrected into them on purpose, but I mean, who knows? And we gathered her up going down into 3, and then I don't know, he didn't see me there because I think we were both still wrecking at that point. So I mean, it is what it is. And then he would have had something for me at the end. I had to jump that start, and then he overcorrected in the fence. So I mean, it is what it is. It's awesome racing. So
It was
to Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it was some fantastic racing that you guys put on all night out there. And yeah, just thank your lucky stars out there. You got some friends out there looking out over you on the racetrack. And is there anybody that you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Don first off for putting this league on. It's too bad we didn't have more cars tonight. I know a lot of guys couldn't make it, but this is one track I really like. The setup wasn't the greatest, but I mean, the true talent comes out, I guess. And so yeah, Don York, Pulled On Motorsports, Reaper Speed Labs, you guys for broadcasting this, and yeah, we'll be ready for Watkins Glen, one of my best tracks.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on taking home that race win tonight, Kyle. And I know that we do have a few more joining us here in the booth. I think that we're waiting on some of them to put their names in the channel so we can kind of figure out who all we're talking to. But I believe Will is at least standing by with the 3rd place finisher, Jack Dixon.
Yes, sir. I'm with Jack Dixon here, our 3rd place finisher here at the Fairgrounds. And Jack, you had a very interesting night. We saw you get loose a couple times, saw you get sideways, bounce off the wall a few times, but all that beating and banging pinball, if you will, here tonight got you a podium finish there. Take us through this race here at one of the oldest surfaces you're going to see.
Yeah, I was just driving, trying to catch those guys, and they're fast out front, and felt like I can get naggy kind of towards the end, but no, I meant to hit that inside wall and spin out, guys. I didn't like the setup very well, and I'm like, I want to knock that toe in a little bit, but I'm afraid they disqualify me for touching it earlier. So I just hit the inside wall, knocked my toe in, and it seemed to help me drive.
That's when you beat it back in before it goes to inspection after the race. So you just make sure nobody sees it there in that 07 machine. But Jack here tonight, obviously the race was won by Kyle Edgar. You saw some battle between him and Connor James up at the top. Talking about setups there, what did you think about this track here? Because it looked like, in comparison, Connor James was very fast there to start the race. Then he made an adjustment when he headed down pit road that made his car a little bit more loose, a little bit more slower there on the runs. What kind of strategy and what kind of setup were you trying here at the fairgrounds?
Yeah, it was a unique setup. I was just throwing everything at the rear so it'd turn a little better, but more braking the rear seemed to be the way to go. And they were complaining, and there's no such thing as a bad setup. There's no such thing as a great setup. It's learn and adapt to what you've got and make that setup great. But it would have been perfect, but that bump coming out of two, it just, if it wasn't there, you could hang that bottom and go, but it just sends you around, and that's what helps you knock out the toe on the inside wall. It just turns you there.
Well, you still bumped your way to a third place finish here tonight. Looking forward to the next race here on the Hot Rod Setup Shops Cup Series. We head to Watkins Glen. What do you think your chances are there at a road course?
My chances there at a road course, I would say if you guys had to put money on last place, the 07's your job. Like, go right at me. I'm try and go for second last, boys.
There we go, Jack. But before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to shout out here or any sponsors that made this race possible for you here tonight?
Oh, just all the guys that show up, and Donnie for putting it on, and you guys for doing the broadcast. Always a great job, and it's always a fun night with these guys.
Awesome, Jack. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us, my man, and congratulations on that podium finish.
Thanks, fellas.
I think that is going to do it here tonight, Will. I think that's going to be our final interview that I see. I was waiting to see if Carson Nagy was going to hop in there, our second place finisher tonight, but I do not see him out there. But as always, I want to give a shout out once again to all of our sponsors, Maconi Entertainment. If you're curious about getting your stuff broadcasted, go check them out. Hot Rod Setup Shops, as always. JP Alfonso Studios. Tam Livery. Can't do it without any of you. And just to let everybody know, we also have a bunch more action here on the Maconi Entertainment channel throughout December. That includes Fast Fridays, GT3 racing, more next-gen racing. So go ahead and check out all of the action that's going to be coming up here on the channel. And as always, want to thank tonight's race sponsor, Hot Rod Setup Shops and Maconi Entertainment. Calling all the action tonight was myself, Joey Atterbury, alongside Will Tiller in the booth and Eddie Smith producing. As always, we would like to thank all of our viewers for tuning into tonight's action. As I mentioned, we hope to see you on the 14th for JP Alfonso's GT3 Series at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And I believe that was actually a little bit out of date here. I think that they got Circuit de Villeneuve coming up here on the 5th, which is going to be the next race. Sorry about that. Until then, stay tuned to the Maconi Entertainment social media pages for upcoming broadcasts. A special shout out, of course, goes to the entire staff for working and bringing this racing to you, and we hope to see you at our next event. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we wish you all a good night.